All right. Well, good morning, everyone. I hope you all had fun at the after party last night and are enjoying the conference. Today, I am going to talk to you guys about the mobile application that we are launching. So, let's go over what it is, why it's different than some of the other mobile applications that are out there. I'm going to do a live dangerous demo for you all, showing you the provisioning of the device and kind of how it looks in Monster UI, and talk briefly about some of the more immediate next steps that we have with it. So what is it? Well, we didn't write it. This is not our client. It's actually written by a company called Acrobits, and the offering is called Cloud Softphone. But it is our white-labeled version of that, and we're launching it as callthrough.us on the Apple Play Store and iOS. So it carries our theming, our configuration, and talks into a backend piece that we actually wrote, a Kazoo application. And I'll go through the details of how that actually works in just a moment here. But it does give you the ability to now have both your personal and business on one single device, which is something that we've been trying to do for quite a while, and so we have actually finally gotten there. It's very simple to provision, so your end users can easily do this, and I'll demonstrate that. And we build it, it provides us a platform where we can build additional features and bring additional capabilities into the mobile application. So right now, we're just simply doing these kind of overlays of the business and personal, but this will become quite an extensive application in the future. So why is it different? So I said it's not a soft phone. I kind of clarified it on this slide. It's not a SIP endpoint. This actually uses the voice channel on the phone, the GSM modem, to place the phone calls. So when you make a call, before it actually starts the call, puts a HTTP request to that Kazoo application that we wrote, and tells it both a token, it gives it a token, but it also tells it the number you're actually trying to reach. Kazoo responds with an access number to dial in order to make that happen. And it can select from a pool of numbers to try and get your call to be as local as possible, so that if you're roaming or if you're in different regions or locations, we could provide you with, for instance, an international number because we detect that you're not in the US or something along those lines. And that access number is actually unique for that incoming call, so that access number is basically assigned to you for approximately 30 seconds by publishing an AMQP message into the message bus, which is consumed by Camilio, and then that information is put into the hash table. And then the mobile application tells the native OS to start an outbound call to that access number. When the call comes into the access number, the hash table is looked up. We identify the device parameters, and we associate it just like we do for a registered device. So as far as Kazoo is concerned, this is actually a registered device on the system with all the user account and device parameters that any other device would already have. So for instance, we talked about the dynamic caller ID application that we have that can choose your caller ID based on the number you are dialing. That all works, call recording, all of that works with this application because as far as Kazoo is concerned, it can't tell the difference. And then the final thing that Camilio does is it mangles the SIP packet so that once it hits the media server, it looks like not dialing the access number, dialing the number that was actually dialed on its dial pad. So let's actually drop into a dangerous demo. So the first application, the first component of this, is the callthrough.us mobile app in Monster UI. And in here, we have a list of all the users on this particular account. And all I need to do is find the user that I'm interested in and toggle it on. By turning it on, I can now go into the user portal. And because I have that toggle on, I have gained a mobile tab. So the first thing that I need to do is I need to put in my phone number. And it's going to send a verification SMS to my device. And there it just came in. And I will then punch this information in. So 592F07. And it's important to note that that SMS actually went out through our SMS integrations, our Doodle and Babel application. So that is actually processed by Kazoo in order to transmit it to the phone. And there'll be more about the SMS MMS later. But as I was saying before, that is a function that we've had in the platform that we haven't actually launched yet, but is a functional component of the APIs if you wanted to start using it. So once I hit that, I now have a button that the user can use to go to the app, the Google Play Store to download or install the app, because I have an Android device. We are still waiting for iOS to publish it, but it has been submitted to them. And if I load up the app here on my device, woohoo! You can see, well, maybe you can see, that the first screen just has this button here that says go ahead and scan your QR code. So I'm going to tap that. My camera has opened. And I, of course, need to go back to here. And I will scan the QR code. There it goes. And so it takes just a second. You can see it's downloading now the configuration for this application. I agree to the terms and service, and had I not already installed it, I'd also give it permissions to make phone calls in my contact list and things like that. But now I'm done. That's it. I've got my dialer, and just as a proof of concept here, I can dial to the office on our app, and when I do, what you'll see is it says call through at the bottom there, and you can see that is the native Android in-call options. And it is a working call, but that caller ID now is my office. And that has gone through and actually created a device for me when I configured it that is the call-through device in Kazoo. So just like all your other devices, you can go in there, manipulate the caller ID, set the settings on it, everything else like that. And so the calls that come from this dial pad now get associated with that device and the CDRs themselves. So what's next? Well, I did mention this. So these are the immediate ones that came back from our initial feedback, which was they'd like to be able from the app to put it in Do Not Disturb mode. So when I go home at the end of the day, I don't continue getting my office calls on my cell phone. So we're going to work on that. And right now, obviously, that's just the outbound calling. When you receive the call, we play that message that we always do when we have call forwarding on that says push 1 to accept, which is kind of the key to the end users that that's an inbound office call. But a much better approach would be to push a notification that pops up on the screen and maybe lives there for the duration of the ringing or some other indication that the call that you're about to take is an office, a business call, so you don't actually have to answer it first. And then, like I was saying, right now the only features we have enabled on this particular application are the dial pad, the contact list, and the call history. But we have the option via the cloud soft phone to enable a lot more functionality and embed a browser where we can actually start building out a lot of additional functionality, such as visual voicemail, presence indications for people in the office, the ability to do in-call features, primarily transfer, business and SMS. It has the capability for a full chat client to be enabled on this particular device. And with the SMS, MMS stuff that we have that we're working on here, then we'll be able to tie all those together. And eventually, even an instant messaging, perhaps, with our Slack integrations or something along those lines, could tie into a unified messaging system for your businesses. And then we have a lot more thoughts and options and things that we can do with this. And if you guys have any ideas or things that you'd like to see in it, I'd love to hear from you. And it's that simple. So thank you very much. Any questions? Absolutely. Can you dial an extension with it? Yes, you can. And, oh, by the way, another good point here is because this is dialing to an access number and not using any of our tie-ins, this will work on any carrier. So this does not require our T-Mobile and Sprint. Absolutely. Because what the phone is actually doing is it's calling a full US number or internet, whatever the access number is. And Camilio is then changing it around to make it look like whatever you want it to be. Which also, with our Sprint integration, we have a limitation that we can't dial 3-digit extensions. So we can't dial we can't take over 911, 611, 411. I'm pretty sure that's why they do that. But there's no such limitation here. Whatever, it's star codes, feature, anything. Whatever you can put into the dial pad goes as basically an HTTP REST request. So anything in that payload is what you dialed when it gets there, including invalid numbers. Other questions? So the gentleman in blue come up first.
So I know you said it's not a soft phone.
Right.
But what if we want a soft phone? The applications traveling internationally, Wi-Fi calls.
Sure. So the question is, it's not a soft phone. Could we make it be a soft phone, perhaps even conditionally? And the answer to that is we actually absolutely can. The Acrobits Cloud soft phone is a soft phone fundamentally. This is just kind of an additional feature of it. And they have the capability of doing things like long press or the 3D force touch on the dial button, and then presenting an option to the end user, which of the two do you want to use, things like that. And they also have a very well-established push notifications so that you don't have to maintain registration. And our app and Kazoo has had for a very long time the ability to hold on to an invite till a device wakes up and registers, and then send that out as well. So you don't need the soft phone living or running and killing your battery for the whole time. So it's definitely something we've thought about, but the more generic and being in the actual voice path is really what we wanted first. So that's what we've got at the moment. I'll get you in just a sec. He had his hand up next. Sorry. Uh-huh. You can't transfer yet. Like I say, that's one that's coming. Now, I have a caveat with the can't transfer yet in that you can always do the Konami codes. So you could do in-call, vertical service access code like star something something and do a transfer. So it is possible. As far as the contact or the recents on the guy here, it lists just as call through.us. So it is not the number you dialed, it's the access number. But of course, you have the actual call history back on the app itself of the actual number you dialed. Mm-hmm. They see your business call ID. Yeah. Go ahead.
My question has two parts. One is, what's the licensing policy of it? So,
Gotcha. So what is the licensing policy of Acrobits, but in which regards? Like on the Apples and Android? So it's a paid option, and so of course we've already paid the fee and done all of that to launch it, and we launched it under the white label, kind of this white label brand, so that you guys can use it as is. If you wanted to, however, we can set it up. We can work with you to actually deploy your own themed version of that as well with our configuration and our backend service. And the next question about whether or not it's available to open source, it needs that Kazoo application that's running to be able to do that HTTP request first, and that will become available to open source with the App Exchange lifecycle. So once the App Exchange goes to open source, of course, everything becomes available to them immediately. So that's where we're going with that. Go ahead. Yeah, so call receiving, just a call forward in Kazoo. And like I say, right now, the way you know it's a business is because we have that prompt that says push 1 to accept this particular call. Well, like I say, if it's coming into the actual cell phone's personal number, not through Kazoo, when you answer, you're on the phone. If it's a business call coming in, when you answer, it says, push 1 to accept this call. And so that's your, this is business, and then I can hang up if I don't want it, or 1 if I do. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And of course, that also means that the voicemail, or if the phone's offline, won't interrupt ring groups or anything else like that, and also terminates in the call flow of the Kazoo application so that it leaves a voicemail in your business voicemail, not your personal, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm.
I know time frames are probably constantly moving, but as far as like presence and
Mm-hmm.